My fiancée made all her friends block me on social media and said both her parents were dead. This was months before our wedding. When I visited her town, I found her mother living there. I'm 32 and she doesn't want me to talk to her best friends at all before marriage. We've been dating for 2.5 years and those 2.5 years have been mostly public. By public, I mean that both me and her we've been posting pictures and videos of ourselves on Instagram, including vacations and other times we spent together. We've been pretty open about our relationship on the platform. However, she doesn't have a large number of followers from her professional or personal life. She has around 7 or 8 close friends who she meets regularly, and one cousin. We're both mature adults and have decided to get married in the coming year, likely in November or December, since we started dating. I thought it would be a good idea to introduce her to my family last month. I got her consent and decided to meet with my family at a nice restaurant in the city. My family got to know her and liked her, so they fixed the date for our wedding. However, my girlfriend said it would be too early for her to get married this year, so we decided to fix the wedding date for February 2025, 6 months from now. It will usually be in my city. As a rule, you have to reserve the venue well in advance. I took her consent and discussed it with my family and booked a hall for the wedding. A few days later, she also booked a hall for her side of the party. It's normal to have parties from both the bride and groom's side in our culture. So far, I've introduced her to my family and one female friend of mine who lives in a different town with her boyfriend. We had proper, well-planned meetings. She also met another friend of mine by chance in the mall. I, however, have never met her friends in that manner, only once or twice. I met some friends by accident as I was driving my girlfriend somewhere and 2 or 3 of her friends also hopped in and we just spoke a few words as we traveled in the car. But her friends were aware that we were dating, of course. Now a strange incident happened last week which left me really confused. It was a text from a friend of hers on Instagram. I'd never spoken to this friend of hers before, except for once a year back when my girlfriend wasn't talking to me. I texted this friend of hers and asked her to talk to my girlfriend, as she's a good friend. She said she'd talk. I also texted her friend because I felt my girlfriend was going through a lot at the time. She probably needed a friend to talk to properly, as she had a huge financial loan and had even had a fight with me and her family for some reason. Shortly afterwards, my girlfriend called me to say that she'd been messaging her friend on Instagram and that I should never talk to her again. I was surprised, but I agreed, as our relationship wasn't so stable back then. I gave her space to settle and, after a while, that day I got a message from her friend saying, "Hey, sorry. I can't help you with this." She also blocked me on Instagram. I was okay with it and didn't respond. This was last year's incident. Then, this same friend texted me suddenly last week. She was trying to reach my girlfriend, but couldn't. She was tense about what was going on. I replied politely, saying, "Hey, she's doing fine. Probably busy with work. I'll let my girlfriend know that you're trying to reach her." I called my girlfriend to tell her that her friend had called. She was pretty surprised and asked why I had to take the call. I told her that I wasn't going to block her on Instagram because it seemed a bit extreme. My girlfriend then said that her friend would block me if I wanted her to. A few moments later, I saw that I was blocked on Instagram again. This time it made me a little angry and I ended up. I started texting her on her other Instagram to handle things. I told her, "Hey, how are you doing? I didn't like what you just did. This is not a very respectable way to talk to someone." I also wrote, "If your husband has some self-respect, he should also not text my girlfriend when you guys are having issues." She replied saying, "Hey, my husband and I were in her life much before you came along." After which I politely explained that I didn't mean to. I just wanted to improve their friendship and felt disrespected for being blocked twice when I wanted to talk to them. Once I wanted to get to know them and meet them. My girlfriend didn't reply to this and informed her friend's husband. I felt it was the only logical way to express myself. I was serious about her and made her meet my family and friends. She didn't have any family members, her parents had passed away, and her cousins live in other countries or are far away now. Her friends would be the ones at our wedding, so I expected her to take me a little more seriously and maybe not ask her friends to block me, at least on Instagram. She often visits this female friend's house, and sometimes they have sleepovers and sometimes even parties with this friend and her husband in their house. Birthdays or some other reason. I haven't had the chance to properly go out or meet any of her friends in an official sense. I've mentioned a couple of times that your friend brings her husband and baby along to group meetings sometimes, so maybe I can go along and meet them once. However, she's not keen on the idea. The blocking incident recently has been really bothering me. My girlfriend says my ex-girlfriends had bothered my friends earlier as well. I don't want these things to happen again, but it's not looking likely. It made sense until maybe a year ago, but now we're getting married in 6 months. Even now, she's reluctant and says she'll introduce me to them only after marriage. When she gets married, these friends will probably have to help her make her side of the arrangement, as she is no one else. I needed to talk to them as well for our upcoming wedding preparations. I haven't spoken to my GF since last 2 days because of this. She also says she's not sure about the marriage. Now that I've expressed my desire to meet her friends, she says I'll be controlling in the future. I think she'll text or call me back soon. Am I asking for the right thing by asking her to introduce me to her friends? What should I do? Update 1. A few days ago, I posted about how my girlfriend, 32, asked one of her best friends to block me on Instagram. It wasn't long after the blocking incident that I found out that my girlfriend's mother, whom she's always referred to as dead, isn't actually dead. A few weeks ago, her best friend, who is already married with 1 kid, texted me to ask where my girlfriend was because she couldn't reach her. My girlfriend immediately asked me to block her, but I refused. Then, her best friend blocked me. The rest of the story is in the previous post. Since then, I've been unable to trust her or my girlfriend. She's always told me that there's no one in her family. She said she was a single child and that both her parents have passed away. She used to go to her countryside home every 3 to 4 months to visit her aunt, who she said was the only person living there. But it always seemed a little off. And every time she used to go there, she used to stay. For at least 2 to 3 days, there were other things that seemed a bit strange. For instance, whenever she got a phone call, her contact name would show as Dad Home. A lady would speak from the other end, who she always referred to as her aunt. My girlfriend has already met my parents and we were supposed to get married in February. However, my parents were reluctant to proceed with the wedding because they also didn't like the secrecy and the fact that my girlfriend asked her best friend to block me. I thought it was just generational differences and was trying to get my parents to understand that maybe it's not that big of a thing. But they still didn't like this relationship. In one day last week, they just went to my GF's office and asked a colleague of hers if she knew about her parents. But that colleague didn't know a lot about her family. I know this was not the right thing to do by my parents, but I thought they could. From an outsider's perspective, they were just trying to keep me safe. They tried to make them understand that it's wrong to take these things into the professional space. They agreed not to ask again, but also urged me to do proper research before taking a step towards marriage. I also tried to think about my parents' perspective in the whole situation from an outsider's perspective, but it was all making me impatient. My girlfriend just wouldn't. I'd like to be able to talk to any of her friends or relatives or follow them on social media. The reason she gave for not introducing me to her family was that her family would never approve of her marriage. Intercaste and intercommunity marriages are still not quite accepted in some parts of India. However, she always said how open-minded her parents were and that her whole upbringing was very modern. She also said my family was suspicious and backward. If her parents were still alive, I'm sure they'd have come to the wedding. My parents liked my girlfriend when they first met and were happy about the marriage. My father even offered to sponsor the wedding expenses because she wasn't doing well financially. But they got suspicious when she made her best friend block me, so all these things made me very suspicious. I decided to visit her countryside village house today. I went there acting like I was looking for someone else. When I knocked on the door, her mother came out. I knew it was her mother because my girlfriend had shown me photos of her earlier. It was like encountering a ghost. She looked fit and fine with a smile on her face. She looked just like my girlfriend. My girlfriend and I haven't spoken properly since her parents called my parents crazy for doing such a thing. My girlfriend was angry and said people in her community are clever. She said some pretty wild things, like that we were running a scam and that we were spying on people. But she never accepted that she was wrong about us. I told her it was wrong to ask that at her office, but she shouldn't have talked about my family like that either. She was acting all suspicious, asking friends and family to block me and faking her mother's death. I haven't spoken to my GF about this, and I'm not sure what to make of it. It was a big lie and I don't see a good reason for it. Her father, as I found out from people nearby, had actually passed away. Her mother was living there with her aunt, who was living in a different house just on the next street over. I just want to know if there could be any good reason or judgment that can be applied to this scenario because I can't think of any. Her mother looked fit and fine to me, around 50 to 60 years of age. Just to give you a quick update on what's been going on. It's been about a month since I posted about my fiancée's strange behavior and the lies she told about her mother being dead. I thought I'd share a short update on the situation because many of you have been asking me about it. When I found out that her mother was still alive, I was shocked for a few days, but I've gradually started to feel better. I'm still curious to know if I did anything wrong, especially because I've seen both the good and the bad. Now that some time has passed and I can think more clearly, I can see that she has two sides to her. I do miss her at times, but I also reflect on what I know about her. She is naturally very compassionate and has shown great kindness towards animals, adopting or helping several street animals during the 3 years we were together. I've seen her experience happiness, sadness, and vulnerability. I've seen her good sides, but she has also been very harsh in her feelings towards my community language, my parents, and even me. She clearly did things that she also discouraged interaction with her friends and lied about her mother being dead, among other things. She also lied to me once before that, which I consider the second biggest lie after the story about her mother's death. This happened one night when she arrived in my city a day earlier than planned from her village home. I found out because I had been calling her repeatedly. She said she wanted to surprise me, but we didn't end up meeting that day because she asked me not to come over. She said she was tired and feeling unwell. Later that night, I called her a few times, but she didn't pick up. The next morning, I went to her flat and found she wasn't there. A few hours later, she called me from her friend's phone. She said she'd gone to her friend's house because her friend's boyfriend had come to stay. The watchman wouldn't allow another guy in the flat, so they pretended to be family relatives to cover it up. I decided to forgive her for lying that time and to trust her again. Looking back, it was another significant lie, the second biggest lie during our entire relationship. The fake mother's death still being the first. About 7 or 8 days ago, I noticed her repeatedly posting WhatsApp updates about how she was treated badly by me, how she was subjected to loneliness and how I broke up with her. I was at a party with some guys and girls and I saw her posting stories that directly defamed me. Even though we had already broken up and I had every right to socialize with whomever I wanted that day, I messaged her after seeing her status updates. I was angry about what she had posted and wanted to know the real reason behind her lie about her mother's death. She responded with a lengthy message, but to summarize, she listed the following reasons. Her ex probably never let her stay at her mother's village house for more than 2 days. Her ex was also seen roaming around in the city with other girls and probably even cheated on her while her mother was in the hospital. She also thought her mother would get proper respect if she lied about her mother being dead, just like her expired father who was treated respectfully after his death. None of the reasons she gave seemed serious enough for me to believe her. I asked her why she had to lie about her mother, especially since I'd always been supportive regarding her family issues. I told her that her explanations didn't make any sense to me at all. She later told me I was wrong to say she has narcissistic personality disorder. I told her that once earlier because she never feels sorry and does gaslighting to hide her own errors, etc. I read online that this could be symptoms. I also asked her to get expert help with this. She said she had consulted a psychologist to diagnose her with PTSD, which can cause narcissistic traits at times. Even so, I don't see how that justifies creating such a complex story about her mother to deceive both me and my parents. She even went as far as to give a specific date for her mother's death anniversary. She was also upset with my parents because they found the whole situation suspicious and started asking questions. I feel bad and think she may have some behavioral disorders. I also think there's a deeper, more complex secret, whether it's hers or her family's, that has led to all these stories. In my last conversation with her, I made it clear that regardless of what she says, we are not in a position to restore the marriage. I don't want to hurt her by doubting her, nor do I want to hurt myself. Trust is something that cannot be rebuilt after everything that's happened. So I asked her to just tell me the truth, but nothing substantial came from her that I could consider. The next story is that I spent everything I had on her engagement ring, but she said it was too small and not special enough. She wants a different ring, and all of the ones she has shown me are bigger and more expensive than I can afford. She said she'll accept my proposal if I give her a different ring, and it can be a do-over because she said she was also a little disappointed. I proposed at home and didn't do anything special. To be honest, I'm kind of hurt. She cares so much about having a bigger, more inexpensive ring. I want her to be happy and have a ring she likes, but she was really hung up on how small my original ring was, and I didn't feel great about it. Honestly, I was crushed when she said no. As I said in my poster, the complaint about the ring is that the diamond is too small for the proposal. I recreated the exact meal she cooked for me on our second date and proposed on our balcony with candles around us in her favorite scent. I hope this answers the questions. Update 1. I told my girlfriend that if she prefers a different style of ring than I got her a ring, but I could get her a different ring because I want her to love a ring she would wear every day. I could either keep the original ring as my engagement ring because she said she isn't getting me one, or I could return it and put the money towards her new ring. The ring I bought was the biggest one I could afford, but she said it was too small. The other ring she showed me was an example of what she wanted was more expensive than I could afford. We had a few arguments because everything was above the amount I told her I could afford. She suggested I get a temporary side job to save more money. I said it would take me a couple of years to save her what she wants, but she says if I love her I'll find a way. I'm not opposed to another ring, but we are on opposite sides regarding the budget. Not long after we started dating and having candles she likes on the balcony, she also said she didn't want that. She wants a public proposal, but I misunderstood when she said she wanted something special. She didn't say public, and I didn't infer it. Now we are both aware of what she wants, at least. I just want to thank everybody for the support and nice thoughts. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep the original ring and where it is, or return it. I don't even know how I'm going to save for another ring, given that it will barely make a dent in the amount my girlfriend wants for a ring. To be honest, this whole thing has put a damper on the idea of being engaged for the time being. Thanks again everyone. Update, August 2, 2024. It was the nicest ring I could afford. It was a 1-carat, Usher-cut solitaire. When I proposed, I recreated the meal we had on our second date and proposed on our balcony with some candles. My girlfriend responded by saying she would only marry me if I bought her a different ring. All the examples she showed me were much bigger and more expensive than I could afford. She had told me she'd accept my proposal if I gave her a different ring. I'd like to propose a do-over because she said she was also disappointed. She didn't like the proposal or the ring. I was trying to communicate with her and find a solution because I love her and she was the one I wanted to spend my life with. We did have some arguments and she suggested getting a second job to afford a better ring. She said I misunderstood when she said I wanted. I had a special proposal in mind, but what I did wasn't special. I had decided to keep the ring as my ring because I was unable to return it and would have lost money if I sold it. I was trying to find a solution and my girlfriend was making suggestions. I thought we would work it out, but about 6 months after my last post, my girlfriend left me for a colleague. She said the affair started after I proposed. The last I heard, they were still together. Either of us was traveling in the United States when my girlfriend left me. She took most of our things, so I had to start my life over pretty much from scratch. It was difficult. My family stopped talking to me when I started dating women because they don't support same-sex relationships. I did receive a lot of support in both of my posts, but there was also lots of negativity. The majority of the messages I got were negative. Many people missed that I am a woman. I got a lot of comments and messages saying that men don't understand how important the ring and the proposal are to women. Even people who didn't mistake me for a man said that my proposal was low effort and the ring was terrible. My proposal was called out for being terrible, and most of the messages I got said that I should put in more effort or be a better partner. There were also a lot of insults. Some people even said they felt sorry for my girlfriend. I learned a lot from this experience. I'm not in a relationship now, but if I ever do find someone, I'll make an effort to be a better partner. I also want to thank the people who posted nice things. I learned a lot from this experience and I've taken all the comments and messages about being a better partner to heart.